Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we will have a look at the weirdest defect on the 2-liter Saab 93 that came from factory. In this video I'll be doing a smoke test to check the intake and boost circuit for any vacuum or boost leak. Let's start by taking off the engine cover held by 3 T30 screws. Then remove the battery cover by twisting the plastic rivet quarter a turn. Finally, remove the top cover of the air filter, remove the hose clamp and the mass airflow sensor connector. The purpose of the video is to give you an orientation of the most looked over leaks. However, the main goal is to show you a defect on all the 93 that came with the Mitsubishi turbo. These are all the 93s with the B207R or any B207 made after 2006. I used the intake hose right after the mass airflow sensor to introduce the smoke. However, there are some preparations that must be done before pressurizing the system. This is the most important step in the procedure. You will have to disconnect the rear PCV hose from the valve cover and plug the hose. Leave the valve cover opening with no plug to prevent pressure buildup inside the crankcase. I've chosen to plug it with a 3/8 extension. Whatever you choose, make sure it's secure and in a place where it can't fly and hit you in the face. My smoke machine has a built-in air pump. I prefer it over other types of machines, but it has its limitations. I started to look around for any sign of smoke. You will have to look in the rear of the engine, front of it, and underneath the car. The machine couldn't exceed 3 psi, which means big leak or multiple tiny ones. This is the first one. This is the charge air pressure sensor. When I pulled the sensor, it was sitting loose and the O-ring was torn, so I replaced it with a generic one from my metric kit. In addition, there was a huge leak coming from the PCV hose where it connects to the turbo inlet. This is considered a vacuum leak, and it's major, as turbo inlet has the highest vacuum level when the car is under boost. There was another O-ring there that needed to be replaced. The rubber turned to plastic and it broke. This was the case with every 93 I tested, so check yours. This O-ring is not listed anywhere. Now after fixing these, we can look at the major issue. See the smoke coming from there? I connected the hose to the PCV opening in the valve cover to reroute the smoke coming from there, so I can have a better look if there was something else smoking. You can plug the hose going to the throttle body as well like this, and that's to isolate the PCV valve, which is another common failure that will cause internal boost leak. Remember when I told you to secure that 3/8 extension? I did, but here's what I didn't. Moving forward, you see these old traces of the bypass valve? I thought they mean something. So I decided to use some Crisfix soapy water. That's when we lost electrical power. But who cares, at least we are at 4 psi now, not 2. And here's what's happening now. There's a leak coming from between the bypass valve and the turbo body. There should be a gasket there. Maybe it failed? No, it didn't. I decided to test the valve diaphragm first, so I disconnected the hose going to the valve from the bypass solenoid, which is located next to the throttle body. I then introduced the smoke in that hose and checked for leaks around the valve again. This tells me the diaphragm is okay. I then continued smoke testing the rest of the areas underneath the car and around the intercooler. It's time to take the valve out and have a look at it. Use a 7mm socket with the extension to release the lower clamp and then pull the hose out. It's a good idea to inspect that hose when you pull it. There are three 10mm bolts that hold the valve. Wait a minute, where's the gasket? Yes, there is no gasket. Smart engineer somewhere thought it would be a good idea to attach two metal surfaces that hold up to 15 psi to each other without a gasket. What we do? Do we cry? No, we make our own gasket. Making a gasket is straightforward. Cut it to the nearest size, make an impression, and then cut it to the final size. If you have a Mitsubishi turbo in your Saab 9.3 and you have performance issues, this is something that came from factory and is overlooked by technicians worldwide. When reinstalling the valve, tighten the 3 bolts to 8 Nm, that's if you could insert a torque wrench in there. Let's put back that hose and redo the test. The gasket passed with the flying colors, at least for now, and we achieved another 2 psi, totaling 6 psi, a massive improvement. It's time to put everything back in its place. But we are not finished yet. Watch the video until the end. Now I know some of you will say 6 psi is still low, but don't forget that's only the capability of my machine. If you want to test the system the same way I'm using, never exceed 8 psi. After driving the car a few hundred miles, I decided to pull the gasket and have a look at it to see how it held. It was okay, it wasn't torn, but you can see there was less signs of clamping force in the middle between the bolts. I think I'll need a thicker gasket. I used 0.5 mm. Next time I'll be using 0.7 mm and maybe a different material as well to fine tune it. I'm not putting the old one back, so I'm making a new one for now. Let me know in the comment section if you have similar experience with that. You will see the end product at the end of the video. Thank you boys and girls for watching. If you are not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. Bye bye.